Well, as has been pointed out, when you listen to Trump, everyone watched this. It was a real show of force. And so this is more evidence of a world that is moving in some ways beyond a U.S. dominated order. And the U.S. is trying to figure out how to adjust to it. Europe is trying to figure out how to adjust to it as well. And so this is just one more piece of evidence that China is not backing down in that way.
And what about the images that we got from Xi Jinping together with Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, flanked on the left and right as they walked up the stairs to the rostrum where they were going to be watching this military parade? What visual effect did that have?
Well, that's for someone who studies North Korea, this is an amazing sort of political outcome for Kim Jong-un. It shows that he's comfortable and that North Korea is not isolated the way that we think that it is. All three of them walking together sent a huge signal about alternative arrangements for countries, and this is the way the world is working now, and we're entering a new era.
Now, as you study North Korea, I'll go for one more question here with the appearance of Kim Joo-ae. What did you make of that?
The current speculation is that Kim Joo-ae is his daughter, is Kim Jong-un's daughter. And of course, the speculation is that for her to be on such a high-profile meeting and to be so prominently displayed is that she is someone who is to be taken seriously if maybe the next successor, the fourth member, the fourth generation of the Kim clan. And if not, she certainly has power in the family, or she's emerging that way.
Now, President Xi Jinping, it was a massive week for him, starting on Sunday with the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, and then it rolled into, of course, some bilaterals in between, and then the big military parade just yesterday with a gala performance as well. How did he do? I want to get your take on how did he get to achieve the things that he wanted to do?
I think overwhelmingly Xi Jinping is very happy right now. This week has been, as you said, just one after another showcase of China's diplomatic reach. And for India's leader Modi to come to the Shanghai cooperation meetings, with a country that the U.S. has both been courting as a potential balancer or partner against China, but also has been managing to annoy recently. So in many ways, I think Xi Jinping is extremely happy with both the optics and also the diplomacy that went on here.
Now, we did hear from President Trump yesterday in his Truth Post. He said that to give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. Trump also said that China needs the U.S. more than the other way around. Is this self-confidence misplaced?
I think what Trump was doing was trying to show a strong face. But in many ways, it's not at all clear that the U.S. can push China around. And in fact, this is the 6 months long or 8 months long response of China to American attempts to impose more tariffs. I think Xi Jinping has been saying, about as blatantly, but also indirectly, that they have alternatives and that China is not going to back down to the United States. And so, Trump portrays two different things. He's often challenging and pressuring other countries, and then he's saying how much he likes these people. So it's not quite clear that the United States is actually decided on the kind of policy that it wants to take towards China or the region.
You're saying that Washington's vision of China is dangerously wrong. How does Washington view China?
Well, that's the larger consensus within Washington beyond the Trump administration, from both left and right, over the last 10 years in Washington has converged on a China threat, that China has expansive goals, that it's reaching out, that it's a danger not just to, say, Taiwan, but around the region, to the Philippines and to Vietnam. And in many ways, I think that is a dangerous vision of what China wants. Most of the research that I've done shows that China has more concern about its internal issues than its external issues. And that in many ways, what China is trying to do is maintain what's going on rather than having expanding goals. So a U.S. containment coalition to try and stop Chinese aggression, I think both makes it more dangerous because we're escalating the stakes and isn't necessarily needed. So in many ways, I think the U.S. could take a very different strategy towards the entire region and towards China.
We are seeing this new multipolar order challenging U.S. dominance. How will the U.S. react to this?
Well, what you're seeing, again, with the China threat consensus in Washington, is that none of this should be good and that the United States should remain as a leader. That may or may not be true. But the actions that the United States is taking seem to be pulling the U.S. back from influence or leadership in the region. And not just militarily, but economically as well. The U.S. tariffs are forcing countries to be more isolated from the U.S., not more integrated. The U.S. isn't a part of many of the multilateral trade deals like the CPP, the Comprehensive Partnership. So in many ways, I think the U.S. is not helping itself in its strategies.
China's parade was a show of military strength, a declaration of strategic autonomy, if you will, that it doesn't need to rely on foreign help or foreign technology for its own defenses, for its own technology and military. How do you read this? Is this success when it comes to self-reliance?
You know, the military parade is wonderful optics. It's a performative show of how far the Chinese military has come. But to people who have been watching the Chinese military over the years, this is nothing new. I mean, if you go back a generation to the early 1990s, the Chinese military was extremely poorly organized, had very poor weapons, and was just simply large with large numbers. And as China has gotten richer, its military has become far more modernized and far more professional. So this is not a surprise to anyone who's been watching. The point of this is that China is no longer, and in fact, I think one reason there's so much, chest thumping by Xi Jinping here is that compared to what China was like during the Pacific War in the 1940s, China is much stronger now.
As we now have a little bit of a reconfiguration of the geopolitical dynamics, how does this impact the Sino-US trade war?
We will see. This is very interesting. And the reason I say we will see is most of this depends on what Donald Trump decides to do. And predicting that is very difficult. In general, what's been clear has been that the 150% tariffs from the spring that both sides went down were making it worse for everyone. So everyone has backed off on those. What we're waiting for now is to see how the two leaders are going to get along. Will Trump visit Xi? Will he come out saying he's made deals? One of the things we know is that Trump will meet with leaders. He will make claims that nobody has any idea if they're true or not. And this was with the Japanese leader, with the South Korean leader who was just there last week. They announced massive deals, but it wasn't exactly clear what the numbers were, when they would be implemented, who was responsible for what. And so obviously the U.S.-China trade relationship is the most important one. And we still don't really know where that's going to go because it's going to depend on Trump himself.
What are you looking forward to when President Trump and President Xi finally meet? There is some expectations that this will happen before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, a lot of the thinking is sometime this fall that there will be a meeting between the two. Everyone is going to be looking not necessarily at these military things. There is a military relationship, and the U.S. is trying to decide how much they have to show force in the Western Pacific. But none of that is really nose to nose. The real nose to nose relationship between U.S. and China is about trade and investment and technology and AI and chips. And so that's what everybody's going to focus on is there a way? And the other thing, the other dirty secret or open secret is that there's no real decoupling. The two economies are so deeply entwined. And so we will all be watching to see, can the two leaders find a way to make the relationship work better? Or are we going to still have this bumpy ride that we've had for the last 6 to 8 months?